All right, hi everybody. Welcome to another episode of 11th Hour Hero Podcast. I'm Joshua Angeli. I'm the main developer. I'm like the only developer on 11th Hour Hero. Solo adventure kind of thing. Just do all the programming, art, and you know a little bit of the music kind of thing too. And it's been a pretty long adventure so far. It's already August. It's mid-August and stuff. And then here is my brother, Matthew. He's the co-host for this podcast today. And we get to see these awesome, cool shirts. Um,
Yeah, what are we
yeah,
calling this? The first edition or like edition 0?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think first edition shirts I think is good. And one of those things where I made the design of this thing like a while ago now. I think it was
mhm.
like actually in like May or something like that. Maybe even before that because
Actually, before that,
yeah.
because this is a birthday gift.
Oh
Your
yeah.
birthday is in April, and
Yeah.
I did get it like a month late, but it took 2 weeks to come in. And so you had done a lot of work on the logo, I think, in February, and then you haven't like looked at it as much. So I kind of took the stuff you did in like February or March
Yeah.
and put it on this, and I just we have more. There's I didn't get it just for myself.
Yeah.
Josh has one. Same with our other siblings. So just like a very small order, right? But just
Yeah.
something to have.
Yeah. Mine's in the wash right now. It's I used it whenever I play volleyball or go to the gym and stuff. It's a great shirt too.
Yeah.
It's just like nice and soft.
Yeah, it's like an athletic shirt, so very cozy.
Yeah. And so I was gonna say it's been crazy because I didn't even realize this until I looked it up, but it's the last episode that we posted on YouTube was May 18th. And it is now August 19th or something like that. No, 15th is what the
Yeah,
screen
almost
says.
3 months.
Yeah. And yeah, almost 3 months. Yeah, I'm like, okay, so in some ways, I'm like, there's a lot that's been done over the last 3 months. And then in some ways, I'm like, okay, I kind of like need to pick up the pace a little bit kind of thing. Like, there's still like we're getting towards, it's now we're like well past like the halfway point of the year. We're going like quarter 3 technically ends like I think in like a month or something like that way, maybe like 2 months or something like that.
Month and a half, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's full steam ahead with this thing though.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for everybody here that has just as a recap, the now the game is on itch.io. It's been on itch.io for like the last like couple months, like public. Like there's no password or anything, so you could just go to the website, which will be posted on the YouTube thing,
Mhm.
and it's I've been doing since July 1st. I've been doing a weekly release. So I've had like 6 straight weekly releases where I just like was like, okay, yeah, it's something new. And then it was only like not last week, but 2 weeks ago that I missed it just because I found like a bug that I'm like, oh, I can't. There's no way I can ship this game with this bug in here, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I had to like circle back and stuff. So yeah, it's been it's but yeah, 6 releases in a row. I felt like it was a really good accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
And so I was able to expand out on like the procedurally generated level. Like we had ceilings, but now we have like different enemy types. We have 4 different enemies. We got like these big tanky guys kind of thing that take a lot of hits and also does like a Gatling gun attack. We have
Yeah.
the grenade enemies, which spawn like a grenade whenever you spook it, essentially, get close to it.
Mhm.
And then you have like these 2 types of enforcer drones. One of them that like kind of spoots out like a burst of, like a 3 burst round
Yeah.
of like bullets, and then one that like does like a shotgun thing. And then you also have like these turret enemies as well that just kind of like once they see you, they look at you and they shoot at you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So with that in there, and like I feel like you can tell me like how does the enemies like actually being added to this game actually uh, affect the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big change, obviously, because when we were talking about this game like 3 months ago, you had the boss and you had like one enemy, I think, roughly around there, And I think, one of the biggest things was like the game felt too easy, right? We just need a little bit more spice of life, a little bit more variety.
Yeah.
Something, things that kind of vary in difficulty just to kind of have like the gameplay basically feel more full. And so we've actually done a play test together and with some friends, not the most recent one, but a couple iterations ago.
That was like almost a month ago, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you've done
yeah.
a bunch of releases, but so that was a really good time because, we got a lot of different perspectives of people that haven't touched this game at all.
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about how it has enhanced the game. I think, it's a lot more exciting running around, getting to see. Well, first of all, you also have new rooms too.
Mhm.
So there's different rooms. It's like a maze, and it is kind of easy to get lost in. We kind of thought it wasn't too hard to get lost in, but when we had people playing for the first time, they're like, "Where are you?" and stuff like that. So that was fun to have to try to like meet up, right? And then even your zombie like enemies that used to be in the, let's call it the overworld or something like that. Now it's kind of like a boss battle.
Like a boss attack thing.
Yeah, and that move is also interesting, and that's probably the most difficult, I think, move in the game to like handle, right? So I think the difficulty is definitely is a lot more now. It's a lot more interactive, I think, the gameplay. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things to talk about the enemies, but that's just kind of like the overview of it.
Yeah. And so I wanted to definitely move the zombie enemies like out of there because I felt like in the boss arena where you have like this whole sand pit thing, it's like I think it just naturally fits a little bit better to have these zombies kind of like, right now they kind of just spawn in, but eventually it would be cool to have them kind of like raise up from the ground. And then I think the cooler part is the fact that like you get like just fogged up. So when that attack starts, like you literally can't see anything. I think a lot of your friends were like, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah.
And so, I'm like, in some ways, I'm like, that is actually intentional. Like, I definitely want people to be like disoriented a little bit. But I think they're like, if there was like more like sound effects going on where you hear the boss like really dive in and stuff, I think that would actually make people a little bit more informed, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where I still need some work on that, on the sound design, just so that way people aren't as confused in the game, but they could still be disoriented, and I just don't want people to know, or at least be like, make sure they're all on the same page of like this on the level of confusion I want people to see and stuff. But I do think the other that's not the only time we have fog in the game. We actually have fog in the procedurally generated level part. And that is the thing that I think makes it really difficult to move around. Like, you talk about getting lost in the world. I think the fog actually makes a huge difference when it comes to how people can remember like the actual procedurally.
You're kind of like fuzzing out details, so it's like, this room looks like the last room, right? I think there's a little bit. It's supposed to be like that a little bit, but
I wonder too. And this is me spitballing. I mean, with this podcast, it is still kind of like a sometimes just talking about this like gives me ideas, right? But in the corridors, they're only just walls, a ceiling, and a floor. There's like nothing in there. So I wonder if I should actually start putting in some props in the corridors as well, so that way they can be used as a way to like, what's it called, like signage, or like a land, not like a landmark. Use you can use different props and stuff as landmarks throughout the corridors, which would make it where you wouldn't feel as lost, kind of thing, because not everything would look the same at that point.
I think with that, you just got to remember, if it's procedurally generated, if it's too much of the samey, it's not gonna like matter all that much, right? Like if each, corridor is like the same. So there's that, and then I think, I think it's there. You could have stuff in there, but it should build towards something. It should have some world building or something like that. If it's just like a box to have a box. And especially if you're not really like fighting a bunch of enemies in the hallway, it's just like geometry to get stuck on. And I understand, like, you want to break it up, you don't want everything to be super monotonous, but But if it's also procedurally generated in there, then it just, if that doesn't make it not still monotonous, then it's like, what's the point there?
Yeah.
I definitely think you could also, but yeah, I mean, think about it in like a world building thing, like, you know, like Dead Space or other things, like was people like drawn in blood, like, you know, help or something like that, or if there's like you know, that's like a little bit more like kind of like, oh, why is that there, or like, oh, something bad must have happened, and
Right.
you know, that's like a lot more like, I don't want to say even putting fine touches on something. That's a lot, but you know, it's a lot more to think about than just put squares and rectangles in a room.
Yeah. Kind of like make it where it's like multi-purpose, where it's informing the user of the story and also, you know, giving people like a little bit of like a landmark thing that they can use to navigate around as well. Yeah.
I was also gonna say, I mean, you made a ping system, right, in the game, right? And that, I think that was that was partly in response to like, we were playing with people, and you know, we don't want to, what is it, railroad them too hard, or you know, hold their hand too hard. But it's also like, well, it would be really helpful to just point out, oh, this is, you know, you're looking at it, it's right here on your screen. Ping. So
yeah, and so I actually added in that ping system. So basically, what happens is you middle click, and whatever you look at is like there'll be like a little like line that pops up with a little square at the top, kind of thing. And it's a yellow line and stuff, right? But what I didn't know until I added it in is that the fog actually affects the ping as well. So it's like you actually kind of still need to be fairly close to people in order to like see like the pings in general. So like if you're like all the way like across the corridor kind of thing, you basically won't see the pings.
Interesting.
But if you're close enough and so it's like it's actually really good because like there's just plenty of times where I'm like, oh yeah, you got to pick up like the starting gun kind of thing, and people are like, well, where it is, where is it?
Even the,
so I'm like, okay, well, we're right here, we're in the same room, let me just ping that kind of thing. So that solves that problem essentially. But it also kind of like you can make it like a power up too of being like, hey, you know what, like we'll make it where the fog doesn't affect the pings, so you specifically will be able to see the pings from anywhere, kind of thing.
That's actually interesting because I do think information has a lot of power, especially, you know, if the game, once we, you know, whatever, if you start making it like really difficult, like that information, being able to convey it quickly, like that could like really save someone, right? If they needed to get a perk, they needed, or a healing item or something, you know, right? So I kind of like that idea in that sense, even if maybe other people might find it annoying. It's like, why doesn't my ping work, right? Oh, you need to upgrade it or something like that.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, well, I wonder too, if, you know, we have like these different abilities. I feel like I haven't like, that's like one of the things that really hasn't like improved all that much over the last few times, is that we still have like the same set of abilities, and a lot of it is like it's just abilities take like some time, and or it's more like other things have taken like a lot more time than I'd say creating abilities. There is I want to explore around with AI a little bit with Cursor and Claude, and being like, okay, like I have these like already have the ability structured in these like different tiny like data objects essentially. So what I, you know, could I tell like Claude or AI or whatever, be like, hey, you know what, just generate more of these data objects kind of thing, and then we could just assign those as abilities and try them out in the game. Like that might be a good way to actually just like make a bunch of like different abilities. But I do also wonder if it's better to like have like a specific set that we know are tried and tested and stuff too, like in the game. Like one of those things where it's just like we want power and flexibility, or do we want like control and directed, you know, game experiences.
You know, I think the power ups. I think there needs to be like a little bit of more hard thinking about it, because it's like we definitely want abilities in the game and perks and whatever upgrades. Right. But like it does feel right now, it's like they're there just to kind of like check off a box. Like, oh, you have the walk speed improvement, you have the max health improvement, you have the dash ability, right? But it's like, you know, it's like it's those. It just feels like they're abilities just to have like abilities, not that they really like change the gameplay all that much
Mhm.
or make things more exciting or like change how you play the game and
Yeah.
interact with the world, right?
Yeah.
So I think I mean, and it's, I think there's, with every power up system, there always is those kind of perks that are like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think we kind of got like the easy ones, but it's like, well, we need to like kind of, and it's like maybe the AI will help. Just, you're kind of throwing stuff at the wall and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe one of these 15 actually like was something didn't have on the top of my mind,
Yeah.
but it actually does work out pretty well. It
Yeah.
makes it a lot more fun. So I think, at this point, it's like, especially if you're kind of focusing on other things and you can be able to test some more, I think it's worth it. I think to get your final list though, you'll definitely have to, it's kind of hard to figure out right now in this moment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know what, it would be cool to kind of just like, just throw like, a bunch of stuff on the wall and just see what sticks, kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
And that might be where like AI is actually like really useful in that case of just like, okay, we're trying this stuff out, and then it's one of those things where like in a procedurally generated level where we'll also have like these speedruns thing, we can also just like, have it where like these abilities spawn in and these ones don't, kind of thing, right? And just like actually change out like what kind of abilities can show up and stuff. But I know with the initial set that I had, my like, there's a couple like dashing and movement stuff. I agree. Some of like the walking speed thing doesn't really make sense right now. I have thought about like adding in a system where, like, basically like the abilities like take up like another resource. Like you have like a mana like pool essentially, kind of thing. But it'd be like everything's like tied to that. So like it'd be like shooting and sprinting and like different abilities and stuff. So like it's almost like, so then like that's where the walking speed could actually be like a pretty big boon, because then it's like walking would be the one thing that doesn't actually affect that pool and stuff. And so then it's like, okay, well, now when it comes to like in the campaign, when you're going through different like things, you can kind of like Legend of Zelda, there's two things that you can really upgrade over time, and that's like your health, like the amount of hearts you have, and then the amount of stamina, kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Like that could be something where like everything ties into that mana pool thing, and you're like, as you play, you are increasing you're working towards increasing that resource pool, so that way you are able to do more things essentially.
Yeah.
The only thing is like, does that limit like, but that might like limit or might make it really difficult for people to feel powerful when they first play the game, kind of thing, right? Like navigating around and stuff, because like even sprinting would like take up that thing. So I think it would be interesting to see like, okay, what are like the trade-offs, kind of thing, right? Like for these things, but even all that can be tweaked up too, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the limitations, putting limitations on it is fine, as long as you're don't make the person your character so weak and lame in the beginning that it's like not fun, right?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like we've talked about this gameplay loop, right, where it's like you have to, not only do you have to scale the enemies up to like basically how strong you are, but maybe you can tweak that also by limiting how strong you are in the beginning, right? And so or just putting limitations, because like I said, this walk speed means nothing unless that there is a stamina bar, right? If you don't have a stamina bar, I mean, it's like it's in the game now, don't take it out, but it probably wouldn't make the final cut, because it's like it would be the lamest perk to get. Like if you actually got that in a run, like you'd probably feel bad that you got that, because there's so many other things you could get that'd be so much better. And it's like at that point, well, then it's not good to keep that in, right? But if there is a trade-off for it, and if it does help, then it's like like you are kind of catering the gameplay towards the perks a little bit, and then it does make it more effective, even though you didn't change the perk, right? You just changed your game to make the perk better. So I think you can kind of do both. And I don't think you need to worry about the limitations, because maybe we've been thinking like already right now, I mean, the game isn't like super balanced, right? Because we haven't really gone to that, or you haven't really gone to that, but it's like, I mean, if you can make the gameplay loop better by weakening your person without making it lame, I think that's absolutely a path you should think about.
And it's also one of those things where it's like, it might be easy enough to be like, okay, we try it out, and then if it doesn't work out, we just take it out, kind of thing, right? Like it's not like a big deal. Like taking the walking speed buffs out of the game is actually like mega easy. So,
Yeah. I figured that probably is not, but
yeah, it's also it's I always think back to college when I took this one. I actually didn't even get into the class. I was just sitting into it, kind of thing, and they were
Mhm.
talking about like sometimes you need to have some bad stuff in the game in order to really enhance the good stuff in the game. And,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of like where the walking stuff. That's why I haven't taken it out now, because I'm like this just by having this in there, by having people try to find for something and be slightly disappointed if they see something bad, actually makes it where when they find something good, they actually like hopefully they appreciate that a little bit
Yeah.
more, kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah, it kind of like forces people to actually just continuously explore around in the game itself,
Hmm.
I think. But I still need more people to actually try out
Yeah.
and play the game. So, um,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that was the last thing. We had some of my friends try out the game, and that was one of the big eye-opening things was like how much information is not translated by the game to the player,
yeah,
right? And that's something that we don't have a problem with
yeah,
because we do this podcast, and even outside the podcast we actually talk about the game. Every time I've gone into the game and I shoot an enemy, I know it can die if I shoot it enough. Like,
yeah,
yeah, maybe in this patch of the game the health is super high and it takes 30 shots, but I know it will die eventually, right?
yeah,
um when some of our friends played it, like they didn't necessarily like have the feedback loop of, oh, I shot this thing but it didn't react and there's no health bar.
mm-hmm.
So is it unkillable? Is this something I need to just avoid, or is this something I should fight? um and so it's just like things like that, which I think we thought we need to kind of put a little bit more time into.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very, very eye-opening thing. Like that's why you need playtesters, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like there's so many little things you're not gonna catch on yourself, especially when you know the inner workings.
Right,
So,
right, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, so all the things that we take for granted,
mhm.
not like people that play it fresh are like not gonna take it for granted and stuff.
Yeah.
So it is interesting because like I've done like these conventions for a Maritime Arena, my first VR game,
Yeah.
and that was like a great. I think initially I was going into it because I'm like, well, how else am I supposed to like promote my game essentially, right?
Mhm.
And even to sell it to people, kind of thing, right? And what I got out of those conventions, like, actually, you know what? These are just better for just play testers. Like, it's like actually, like, I'm not gonna worry about selling. This is just it's a gold mine, and just figuring out like what works in the game and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I want to, like, for this game, I don't have to go to conventions, to get some playtest sessions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I am gonna like work towards, maybe for the month of August, since things are tight and we got a couple of trips coming up towards the end of this month. Uh, I might have like a virtual playtesting session. I mean, it's not that hard to like just be like,
Yeah.
one of these weeks, just like, I'm going to be online Discord. I'm going to be playing this game. Come online and just try it out with me, kind
Yeah.
of thing, right? I think one of those things where every single week, um, what's crazy to me is that I've been doing these weekly releases on Itch, and as soon as I started doing that was when we stopped doing this podcast, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like, it's like, actually we should be, it's like, do a weekly release, and then this podcast can just be about talking about the latest stuff too,
Yeah.
alongside with just like, hopes and dreams for this thing too. So I think to that point, I know like for these podcasts, we've been trying to keep it to like, I think like 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes or something
Yeah.
like that. And so, we're at like the 24-minute mark, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
this might not be a bad time to wrap things up, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, before we want to go, or this is optional, but do you want to say the couple things you're looking forward to, like either with the game or other things you're trying to do with the game?
Yeah,
just like rapid fire, quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like I my original plan, or more like my plan, when I decided to go on this adventure, right,
Mhm.
this year, I was like, okay, I want to, cap it to like this year kind of thing. I still want to try to hold true to that as like as much as I can kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I know like already talked about like a maritime arena going to a convention for like I went for a convention for that kind of thing, and I want to do something like that for 11th Hour Hero. I'm not gonna say anything more towards that, but that is just a goal. Is just to
Mhm.
take it to like a convention of sorts before the end of the year kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be like a very good like yeah, let's celebrate, but like do it in person in
Mhm.
a crowded environment where you can't hear anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all jokes aside, so like that would be like a pretty big thing. For this month, we also are going on a couple of trips. Want to like try to add in some music, add in some sound effects kind of thing, kind of make this like a little bit more of like a complete package of sorts kind of thing. Also, so let's assume that we're going to go back to weekly, podcasting. Because if we do that, I can also just talk about what I'm working on this week, kind of thing, which
Yeah.
is I've been working on one of the things that our sister has told us is that it's really hard to like tell the difference from people, kind of thing, right? Um, and so right now I'm working on different helmets and different mask designs. I
Mhm.
got two so far, and I'm building in the system where you can actually just swap from one mask to another kind of thing. That also opens up where you can find these different like helmets and masks, like basically cosmetic items like throughout the world.
Yeah.
Or maybe have it some sort of like unlockable if you've like achieved like some sort of like
That could be good.
achievement kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that would actually be good, like if you get the speed one done in like a certain amount of time kind of thing, right? Like
Mhm.
you guys just get a big unlock kind of thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I don't think you need to flood the game with like cosmetics and stuff, but
yeah,
I always think cosmetics are a good motivator for people. I mean, Risk of Rain is like, oh, you get a different skin if you beat it on hard, right? And
yeah,
it's like pretty hard to do that, but it feels really good when you have that skin.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And other things, right? So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so, yeah, like for the time being, I'm like, okay, let's just. I want to add in like four different things just so that way, four people can look slightly different, like when they actually.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
have
yeah,
at least four different.
yeah, like yeah, this is like this is where like nobody's like,
Yeah. You could
um,
also have different capes,
yeah,
different color
different
capes.
capes.
So
Yeah, I want to do
just
different cape designs and different colors schemes. I would great big. What I could really use for anybody that's listening to this thing is a artist that knows how to do like UV like texture stuff, because I don't know. I can make 3D models, but I don't know how to actually texture anything. So they all just have basic materials and basic colors. So anybody that knows how to like actually, eventually I want to have like a cape that has like that childhood like city rug like on it, just for like shits and
yeah,
giggles kind of thing.
yeah,
Just as a almost like a meme of sorts kind of thing.
yeah. I think
Um,
that'd be good.
but yeah, I don't know how to do that technically. So that
Okay.
would be so like I could use a little bit of help there kind of thing. But yeah, like we're going on this trip in a couple of weeks, and there's a couple of, like really good musicians in this thing. So definitely want to try to get some sort of like get this game to look good, so that way on this trip I can actually like be like, okay, like this is, what would be really epic for this thing if we had some epic music, and
Yeah.
then that would like I think that would be pretty epic, pretty cool kind of thing. And so yeah, I made this one music thing, gonna add that to the game, so that's gonna be a up on this next release on Tuesday as well. And then also just like other optimization stuff. I'm still
Mhm.
like working on a version for the Quest, so getting like a meta page up kind of thing would be nice. But I gotta make sure that it runs well with the outlines that I like on the Quest 3 at least, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd say like that is what I've got going on this upcoming week kind of thing, right? And just even for like the month of August kind of thing too. And so yeah, full steam ahead on this thing. It's gonna be awesome. Really excited for what's coming up, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
just but yeah, play like the game weekly releases on itch.io. link is going to be in the description. And I think that's basically it for just
Sounds
general
good.
updates and stuff. So
Okay.
all right.
Well,
Cool.
thanks for showing up, guys. 11th Hour Hero.
Oh yeah, 11th hour.
And we'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you everybody for showing up, and see you next week. Or see you next time. We're like, who knows if we're here next week, but yeah.